Diversity sounds good. The word just sounds good. Who can be against diversity? Saying you don't like diversity is like saying you don't like my dog Dutch. That's the whole point. That's why proponents of diversity pick the name. They don't call it discrimination in the name of racial equity later on. Doesn't sound as good. A new lawsuit says Texas A&M's diversity program flops over to a word we should all hate just as much as we like diversity: discrimination. The program offers signing bonuses up to $100,000 for professors of African American, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian backgrounds. Notably, they do not include Asians among the minority groups. We'll get to that in a minute. But finance professor Richard Lurie says the program is discriminatory. It violates the Civil Rights Act and the 14th Amendment, in his words. His lawyer is here, Gene Hamilton, former counselor to the Attorney General in the Trump administration. Nice to see you, Counselor. We appreciate it. All right, in fairness, if they didn't do this with grants and they said, okay, we want more professors of varying backgrounds, there's not a lot of Alaskan Natives who are available, we're going to go to other top universities and steal them by offering them more money. Would you have a problem with that?
Leland, we would have a problem with any action by the Texas A&M University, or any employer for that matter, that makes hiring, firing, and retention selections for its employees, its faculty members, whomever, based on the skin color of the applicant, based on the sex of the applicant. It's something that's been prohibited by federal law for decades, if not in some cases 150 years.
So if it's been prohibited for all this time, why would a university with dozens of lawyers and big money and clearly well thought out causes do this?
Leland, I think it's because they think that they can get away with it. It's because university administrators have been so captivated by the institutional left and by these woke institutions who think that what we have to do in this country to thrive together as a national body is to hold down certain racial minorities while they bring other ones up. And that's been illegal for decades. It's been wrong. It's always been wrong.
It's kind of surprising though that this would be happening in Texas, right? Is it Greg Abbott's fault if he's the governor and it's Texas A&M?
Leland, I think that what we are seeing in Texas is just a symptom, is just a little glimpse of what's happening all across the country at other universities and other places. The fact of the matter is that
No, I understand that, but you'd think that the governor of a state would not allow this kind of behavior in his state, right?
You would hope so. I don't know that everything always gets to the governor's desk, but I certainly hope that.
I mean, spending big money, it seems to. I want to get back to this though. If all of a sudden they decide that they really want professors with plaid ties, and there's not a lot of professors with plaid ties, and all of a sudden they start paying professors with plaid ties more because they're in demand, or professors who can teach African American history, and most of them happen to be African American, or Alaskan history. Most of them happen to be Alaskan. What's the problem with supply and demand?
There's no problem with selecting people based on their aptitude, based on their skills.
And if we pay them more, if we pay somebody who teaches African American history or Alaskan poetry more than Professor Lowry, you wouldn't have a problem with that then?
It would depend on how the way the program is worked. If it's being done as a proxy for racial discrimination, we'd absolutely have a problem with it, and that would be a factual determination. But what we're seeing with this instance, for our client, and what we're seeing across the country in all kinds of places, is not people saying things between the lines, asking people to read between the lines. We encourage people of certain backgrounds to apply for this position. We strongly promote these ideals of having proportional representation amongst our faculty members. What they are saying now is blatantly, we are looking to hire people of this background and the other background, and people of the other backgrounds, you're not eligible to apply. And that's flat out wrong. And no matter how you structure the program, you cannot do that as an employer. You can't do that.
It's interesting you say employer, because this is different a little bit because it's a public institution, so you're bound. The institution's bound by different laws that you all point out in your suit. There's a lot of companies though that have done proxy versions of this. Google, Pfizer, Microsoft, IBM have excluded white and Asian applicants from fellowships. Amazon offers Black and Latino Native American entrepreneurs a $10,000 stipend and launch their own delivery startups. We're hearing about banks offering no down payments in predominantly minority neighborhoods. Does the same rule apply?
Absolutely. And in fact, in one of those examples that you just mentioned, it's a case that we filed just a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, against Amazon for doing the exact same thing, is making programs available to people because of the color of their skin and not available to other people because of the color of their skin. This is illegal, and it has been illegal in all contexts for a long time, especially when it involves a state or governmental entity that's involved. Private corporations are no different, although the rules are a little bit different.
I'm interested sort of how you guys picked this case. America First Legal Fund, large connection to Stephen Miller, who was formerly with President Trump, longtime advisor as well, video there. I know you were with the former Attorney General. How much of this is a proxy for Republican politics and bringing these issues up that are going to be helpful culturally come November?
Leland, I don't think that it has anything to deal with anything that's going on in November. It has nothing to do with elections. This has everything to do with doing what's right now for the American people. Being willing to step up and engage in these righteous battles.
The idea, I just want to understand, is Professor Laurie been hurt at all through this? He still has a job. He's still being paid as professor, the going rate. How has he been injured?
He is being injured the same way that any other injury would come to someone if the roles were reversed. Picture yourself as an African-American applicant who wants to apply for a job at some prestigious university or at a private corporation, but the private corporation says Black people can't apply. That harm, his inability to even apply for a program, is a harm in and of itself. It's something that we recognized and widely accepted.
All right. Hey, counsel, it's good to see you. Thank you. Come back if you get an injunction, all right?
Sounds good, sir. We'll do it.
Thank you.